What's up, everybody? This is Jose from Sun Life.
And Katie.
And Siri.
And Siri.
Welcome to Bowling Green, Kentucky, my old Kentucky home. This place is like 10 or 11% Bosnian.
Yeah.
It's the largest Bosnian community in America. We're going to talk about all that. Also, the musical group Nappy Roots was founded here.
Yes.
So this place has contributed a lot to what is American culture of the South. Musically, we're going to talk about a lot of information on this video. Information that I know off the top of my head, not information that we have to get off Wikipedia.
We've got 72,000 people here, and it's growing. You can tell it's growing.
Yeah, they're building a lot of new apartments and new houses all around the outskirts of the city. And you're between Louisville and Nashville, two very cultural cities to be between. Right here?
Yes, love.
Now, when you listen to your Jason Aldean and your Old Town Road and all of your country trap and country rap and all that, you know who your daddy is? Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is where Nappy Roots was founded.
At Western Kentucky University.
Nappy Roots was founded here. And Nappy Roots and the Hillbillies, two cultural groups.
Yes.
That's the groups of musical groups that were founded in this area and were the forefathers of mixing that bluegrass country with hip hop, which led to what is today known as country music. Country music today is nothing more than country rap. And most of the music that's coming out today from Nashville, remember who your daddy is, Bowling Green, Kentucky, because this is where it all started. Nappy Roots in the early 2000s had the album Chicken, Watermelon, and Grits. The members of that group were Prophet, Be Stills. Help me out here, Katie. Some of them were from California. Some of them were from Bowling Green. Some of them were from Louisville. One was from Milledgeville, Georgia.
Fish Scales is from
Fish Scales is from Milledgeville, Georgia. We've been to that town.
The Kentucky natives are Skinny DeVille, Be Still, and Ron Clutch.
Nice. So, in the early 2000s, they get together and they combine hip-hop, southern rap, with this bluegrass Appalachian country. And they, for the early 2000s, for a few years, were mainstream on the radio for a long time with songs like Heads Up, Country Boys, Po Folks, Ride came along a little bit later. And recently, if you're watching the ads on YouTube, I think Walmart or another big company just picked up one of their newer songs. So they're still relevant musically to this day. And that sound that was forged here in Bowling Green, Kentucky with Nappy Roots, they also did collaborations with the Hillbillies, which are out of Louisville, and they are definitely the originators of country rap. Nothing like it existed back then, so Nappy Roots and the Hillbillies kind of started this musical movement that today, even mainstream country music, which is the largest genre of music people listen to in the United States, originates from that. So this is a city that has culturally contributed to a lot. Nashville down the road, Louisville down the road, a lot of indie music scenes out here in this area. This is an area that has produced a lot of talent and a lot of
brand new apartments.
Yeah, I see a lot of new apartments.
That might be partly student housing because you do have the university here.
Yep. People littering, look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, that's styrofoam.
Mm-hmm.
It's windy.
So it looks like snow.
Styro snow.
Styro snow.
Alabama snow right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's Alabama snow.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. There's a restaurant called here in Mazatlan on the left. Mazatlan is in Sinaloa, Mexico. It's a town, kind of a beach town, beautiful beach town with great tourist attractions, a beautiful malecon. That's a boardwalk along the beach. Beautiful place, extraordinarily dangerous. So there's Bosnians here. one of the largest, if not the largest, Bosnian American community in the United States is here in Bowling Green. And throughout Kentucky, you're going to run into a lot of Bosnians. Now, that's a country that in the 90s, when they started to come over here, they had a lot of problems. And these were people, they're not refugees, they're exiles. They just come from a different struggle, a much scarier struggle than the average immigrant. So it's a community that was plagued with a lot of problems. And the ones that came over here were exiles. They were victims of the absolute worst things you could think of. So you can say that a lot of the Bosnians that came here in the United States, especially that ended up in Kentucky, had some traumatic experiences. And unfortunately, those types of experiences continue to cause problems for immigrant groups many generations down the line, because they experience so much in their home country that when they come into the United States and try to integrate into society, a lot of times, even though they were victims, they were subjected to a lot of things that just made them have more violent tendencies. And the Bosnians here, a lot of them just come from that background of, they really needed to leave their country. So when they landed here in the United States, they landed here with a lot of trauma, a lot of mental health issues, and those are things that plague people continually. So you're going to find that, for the most part, it's a community that has been through a lot, and their struggle has definitely left scars on the people. With that said, I grew up in Kentucky. I went to school here, and a lot of the people that I went to school with were Bosnian, and I was never friends with any of them. They were very cliquish. They would fight all the time. They were just very much bullies for the most part. They came from a country where they were getting picked on because they were minorities, so the parents taught their kids that they had to fight and they had to defend themselves. So when they got here in the United States, one of the aspects of being discriminated is that you always feel like you're gonna victimize even when you're not. And I feel like when the Bosnian community got to the United States, they were on the defensive. They were used to being on the defensive because of what they struggled with in their countries. When they came over here, they were on the defensive, but there really wasn't anybody on the offensive. And it just led to a situation where it's a community that kind of bumped heads with people unnecessarily, or that would just dramatically always end up feeling like they needed to defend themselves. And again, that's all coming from the struggle that they came from, the reason they ended up here in the United States to begin with. So it's a complex situation. And again, I went to school with Bosnians, and they always wanted to fight, usually clicking up on you to beat you up. It was very difficult. Ironically, many years down the road, they did have a tornado rip through here also. And I'm looking to the left here, I can see some massive destruction. Was it in the 2021 where they had a tornado? 2021 they had a tornado rip through here, and you can see right here in this side of town, still a huge amount of damage.
Yeah, look at that sign over there.
Yeah, so they did have tornado damage. There's a lot of information. Usually when we get to a town, there's not this much to fill you guys in on, but there's a lot I got to get off on this video as far as information. So you can tell me get into this neighborhood here if I can. I want to show them this tornado damage.
That's gonna be in the light.
I know, but I want to show them the tornado damage. Okay. Let me see if I can even get back in there. I don't know if it's going to be possible or not, but there's a lot of tornado damage. Yeah.
With the lighting.
Let's see if we can get some tornado damage on here. But yeah, this video is going to be jam-packed with information. Sorry about the sun being in our face. Let me see if I can get to the tornado damage areas.
You can kind of see it with the trees.
You can kind of tell, yeah. There's a house over there that's just annihilated.
Yeah.
But you will see tornado damage throughout the town, sporadically through this video. So my experience, yeah.
Right there, you can tell it tore up the brick.
Yeah, there's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
It's been some time. It's giving people time to clean up, but there's signs of tornado damage throughout the town.
Yes.
So my experience with Bosnian community hasn't been the best. basically I was getting picked on and beat up by them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But ironically, many of my friends that stayed in Kentucky eventually became friends with the Bosnians, and they were actually really good friends later on in life. So it seems like hopefully they've been able to integrate themselves to society. There's a local artist here in Bowling Green. I really struggle to find a lot of recent artists. I try to get you guys some recent artists. They do have a good, solid cultural heritage there with Nappy roots. But overall, recently the only artist that I can find coming out of Bowling Green is a guy called Benny Euro. He's obviously, the Euro would actually be European, which would suggest he's Bosnian. Not a surprise considering that 10% of this town's population is Bosnian. Benny Euro is a rapper, young kid. He's done some collaborations with artists all over, and he does seem like in that genre of music he has good talent and ability. And he's possibly one of the most recent artists putting Bowling Green on the map. So the city has definitely integrated a lot of different cultures, from mixing the country music with the hip hop. No left turn here. We'll have to swing around. From mixing the country music with the hip hop, and now integrating the Bosnian community into music as well. You can see that this area is like a melting pot for cultures in a sense. At least with the youth. I don't know about the older generation. Kentucky's still Kentucky. It's very conservative, very just very you could say southern, but also mid-southern. You know, you still have Nashville and Louisville, so you have kind of like a mix between a culture that's more conservative and refuses to adapt or change, but then you also have all these younger people that are willing to kind of join the melting pot of cultures. And that's pretty much what America's about, really. The big melting pot of cultures. You just don't expect it to happen in small town Kentucky. This isn't a small town. It's a small city, medium-sized city, really. But being a college town, you have that influx of different people, different backgrounds from different places, and I think it makes these towns better places because you have young people that are trying to do something with their lives. You don't always get that everywhere. Sometimes when a small town doesn't have... let me see what road I'm on, what we're doing here.
Yes.
It's trying to get us into downtown. We're getting... Okay, this will take us into downtown, past the university. Perfect. And the downtown, so this would be great. The Western Kentucky University's here, right?
Yes. And this is the university where Nappy Roots was founded. Right,
cool. And football is huge in Kentucky, whether it's, mostly college, though. Mm-hmm. Mostly college.
They also have a mellow mushroom here.
Yeah, expected. Mm-hmm. Expected for a college town.
Mm-hmm.
But football, massive in Kentucky. College football, you got Louisville, throw your L's up, or, Kentucky State University. Mostly. A bunch of flags here. A few African flags. There's a Bosnian flag right there, the blue and yellow. Mm-hmm. So I guess the flags just represent the people that are the biggest groups out here. College football, most of rural Kentucky is Wildcats. They're out of Lexington, and most of the urban areas are going to be Louisville, which is red. So this looks like a normal neighborhood right up in here. Any roads that go back there? It kind of looks like a normal neighborhood.
Like, this is
interesting architecture.
Yeah, this is where, I think the housing is for the students.
Okay.
It looks like a student housing area. Because it looks like multiplexes and stuff. And that usually...
Any demographical breakdown of the people, does it through...
Yes. It is 71.9% W.
Mm-hmm. So almost 30% is other?
12% is... 12.5% is B.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 6.5% A.
Okay, a lot of Asians.
And you've got 8% H.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And the whites are gonna consider with a lot of the whites are gonna be European white.
Mm-hmm.
So it's even more diverse than that. Beautiful town. Thank you. So there's the diversity here of some sort.
Yeah.
For being in this part of Kentucky, it's definitely diverse in some ways.
Yeah. Per capita income for the city is $26,000.
26,000
Yes.
per capita. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Lots of like Victorian-looking houses. The architecture is impressive. Like, look at all these old churches made out of like stones and stuff.
Yes. It is gorgeous. I will say that. It is pretty nice.
It's a beautiful town.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of Victorian houses and stuff. Old churches, old buildings.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of architecture here.
Yeah.
Got that rust bucket down there.
We are pretty close to downtown. Pretty much in downtown because the next street up is where the Mellow Mushroom is.
Right. And most of these downtowns are going to be pretty laid back.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a one-way. I hate one-ways. I really do. I feel like one-way is just kind of... Look how empty this is.
Yeah.
One-ways are possibly one of the worst things in America. A relic of the past that needs to be getting rid of.
Mm-hmm.
It just destroys the town. I mean, look at it. It is a Sunday. What are they doing? Skateboarding?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I wish I could have got closer and take a look. Let's see if I can swing around the block here. I think one-ways are horrendous for cities. It just breaks up. It prevents people from really exploring their cities and being able to just get out and enjoy the downtowns more. It makes downtowns more utilitarian than they need to be. The centers of cities should be more for gathering places, and one-ways are kind of like barriers in cities. They're walls. Walls that you probably want to break down. Am I going through here? Let's see here.
Apparently.
I think one-ways are probably one of the worst things you could ever do to your city. They just break apart you want the especially a town this size, you want the downtown, you don't want to divide it into sections, you just want to unify it. The bigger, the more fluent your downtown is, the better it's going to be in general. A bunch of kids over here skateboarding. Let's see if we can get close and see what type of fun they're having. That's an interesting, a bunch of teenage kids skateboarding.
Yeah.
Let's see. Or just skateboarding. See what they got. What's up? What's up, bro?
Just driving. Okay.
So
they do have Bosnian restaurants here.
Yeah, they're gonna have Bosnian restaurants. I'd prefer not to.
Okay.
I feel like if your hygiene isn't... I'm sorry, did I just say that out loud?
Yes, you did.
I did. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to get over the fact Bosnians beat me up for decades.
Yeah.
Not decades, but it's just I got some stuff I gotta work out with myself. Okay. I'm not interested in their cuisine.
It looks good.
I'm not interested. I have some things I have to work out with myself, Katie, okay? I hope you're understanding.
Are you at least trying?
No. Especially... Okay, so one of the... there's no really pretty way of saying this.
There is a few in this town.
Yeah, so... Cubans and Bosnians just don't get along very well, I think, for the most part. Part of it stems because their hygiene isn't their priority, and I guess armpits, smells, different parts of the world have different cultures, and not everything that's okay in your country is okay in my country type of situation. And I'm just not willing to smell your armpits all day, but that's fine. It's all have different things going on. Well, I'm out of here now. There, I said it. There's no nice way of saying it. I mean, there's no nice way of saying that.
There's a Bentley over there.
Really? Where?
Right there.
That's a Hyundai Genesis.
Oh.
They knock off. Yeah, they try to make them look like Bentleys, but they're not clearly. Anyways, there's no nice way of saying that. But if you've ever been to a hotel in Kentucky or somewhere in Kentucky and noticed people that don't wear deodorant, not going to point a finger in any direction, but I said it. Look, there's a lot of aspects of European culture that are not exactly compatible with American culture. One of them is the whole not wearing deodorant thing.
Yeah.
The other one is, like, for example, a while back, some people came from Sweden. Was it Sweden? They went to in Cape Coral?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're from Sweden. Now, in Sweden...
They're some kind of Nordic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In their country, it's okay not to wear pants when you swim. So when they go for a swim, they wear nothing. Now, in our country, if you were to do that, you'd likely get arrested for something called indecent exposure. So recently, some people were visiting from one of these. Yukon, okay. They were visiting from one of those countries, Sweden, I think it was, and they weren't. There was children next door, and they're all having a party, and they were waving at There was a bunch of men waving at children who were wearing absolutely nothing in a pool in the backyard. And in the United States, that constitutes indecent exposure. It's a crime. It's illegal. And if you're naked and you're waving at children, there might be some other extra charges with that. Apparently, that's totally acceptable in Sweden. It's not acceptable in America. However, for some reason, the Lee County Sheriff's Office did not want to press charges on these people. But the parents were really upset at the sheriff's office because they felt that what the man did was borderline. Yeah. They said because, they're visiting from Sweden, and it's Sweden, it's okay to do that. Well, you're not in Sweden anymore. I think that Lee County Sheriff's Office giving those people a pass is incorrect, because if a bunch of Colombians brought a bunch, or Jamaicans brought a bunch, you know what I'm saying? Like, if other people brought the things from their country that are illegal here and try to do them, they wouldn't get a pass. I don't think if a Salvadorian did something, they don't get passes, in fact, because, like, there's recently a case, I think it was a Salvadorian who got a girl that was like 16 pregnant, and he got arrested and took all these huge charges. And when he went to court, they did not understand at all. Is that a donk? Kentucky blue donk. Okay, cool. That's so cool. Look at the donk.
Yeah.
Kentucky blue donk. I think we have our cover photo.
Yes.
Let me see if I can get near it for a good cover photo. Kentucky blue donk. Oh, sweet. I wish it was positioned for a better photo. What is this place here?
Baker.
It's called Wags and Whiskers. But we have our cover photo here, I think. Kentucky blue donk. I almost expected to see this here. That's cool. Anyways, they don't give the Salvadorians a pass when they bring their antics from their country over here and break the law, but they gave these Swedish people a pass. And I just find it interesting how here in the United States, if Europeans do stuff that's completely unacceptable culturally here, a lot of times they get a pass for it, where if they're from other countries, they don't get a pass. For example, let's take Salvadorians. When they knock up a 16-year-old girl, they're going to jail for a long time. It's not illegal in their country. Their age of consent is different. But I find it weird how a lot of times with Europeans, they get a lot of passes for doing stuff that... Let's go to Nashville.
Okay.
They'll get a pass for doing stuff that's culturally not acceptable. And let me just tell you, I'm not with giving them a pass. If I walk into a hotel and there's somebody in line next to me and they smell like they haven't showered in a month, I'm gonna tell them, hey dude, here's a bottle of deodorant. You should wear it. I just don't. I struggle with the notion of giving somebody a pass for you're in the United States. You adapt to our culture. But what's ironic is if it's a Spanish person or an African person, it's a Spanish or an African person, and we for some reason decide to do something that's unacceptable here culturally, we don't get a pass. But all of a sudden, because they're Europeans, they get a pass to do whatever they do. That's not. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We're going left, right, east, west.
Right on Nashville 31, which is the light.
Is a tornado damage or what?
The roof is caved.
I'm not in tornado damage. I'm not going to be too harsh on them for having abandoned buildings because they're there.
Nashville Road, US 31 West bypass south.
Oh, there it is. It's just I think the right word is taboo on that one. It's a taboo subject, but I'm going to tackle it for you guys. It's a taboo subject.
Road for 3/4 of a mile.
Not a subject that everybody wants to touch, but I'm going to get into it. You don't get a pass. Katie got really mad at me at the hotel because I literally, like, the people smelled really bad. And I was like, hello, deodorant, Poppy. Katie's like, you are so culturally insensitive. No, they are culturally insensitive to me in the United States. And if United States, if you have body odor, you're being disrespectful. I'm not the one that's being insensitive. They are. They're being insensitive to my nose. Katie's quiet. You don't agree?
I'm not gonna say that they smell good. I'm not.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna say like everyone in that culture has that
trait.
Yeah.
No, of course not. You don't want to generalize. But I will tell you, as soon as we walked into the hotel, I was like, Bosnians.
Turn left onto Fairview Avenue.
Anyways, I'm not gonna give them a pass. When I lived in Kentucky, you could smell them. Like, you walk into a building, they're there. You're like, dude, just take a shower. You're in the United States of America. Why don't I looked it up, left to right?
Yeah.
Left here. I actually looked it up on the internet. I looked up on the internet, why do Bosnians smell so bad? And I couldn't find anything. I guess it's so taboo that not even Wikipedia wanted to tell me. Even Sarah's like, I don't want to talk about this, man.
In a 1/4 mile, continue straight to stay on Fairview Avenue.
But it is true that different cultures have different things that are acceptable. Like, I'll give you an idea. What is something that we do in America that is not acceptable in other countries?
A lot of the food stuff that's in our food is not acceptable other places.
Like, we eat beef. In a lot of countries, you cannot eat beef. India, you cannot eat beef.
No, like, preservatives and dyes and all that, they don't allow them in other countries because they've deemed them as poison.
And it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why right now the United States has one of the lowest life expectancies because half of our food is processed junk. Other countries don't allow that. What is
like,
something?
you see people who, you know, they'll be celiac here where they can't handle wheat, but then they go to Italy, eat like pizza and bread and pastries and whatnot.
They don't have any problems.
They don't have any problems.
Yeah. Okay. What's something else you could do in the United States but you cannot do in other countries? There's a lot. Like, there's a lot of things you do in the United States that in other countries it's just absolutely not acceptable. Not legal. Oh, look at that. What was that basketball player that went to Russia? She thought she could just casually carry whatever she had. And they're like, nah, 20 years locked up. Concentration. She thought, well, wherever she was living. Slow down, I'm going to take it. Left or right up ahead?
It's going to be on the right. You're going to get on the 65 South.
So anyways, the basketball lady, she thought she could go to that country and carry a little bit of something and it wouldn't be a problem. No, in their country, they don't accept that. And they're going to be harsh to you about it. So every time you have a mixing pot of people, there's some aspects of your culture. Like in my country, Cuba, there's a lot of things that we do that are just completely unacceptable to Americans. Katie, you would probably know better examples. I'll give you a pass. Go ahead. Something Cubans do that. You got a pass. I'm giving you a Cuban pass.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. You sound too excited about this. Hold on. No. You got way too excited too quick. You got way...
I'm like, what?
No. You got way too excited. I might just have to take this pass away before you even say anything.
The, like, affection when you meet someone.
Okay, good example. I'm glad you went with that one because you seemed too excited at first. I was like, I don't like where this is going.
I was like, what?
I'm going to regret doing this.
No, I was just surprised that you said that, yeah.
Okay. Well, because you got all excited. You should have seen her face. She was like, I've been wanting to do this for a while.
No.
She got all excited. She's like, oh, I'm ready to rip you up.
How is that cool?
I thought I was getting shot at for a minute.
I know, right?
Anyways, when you meet somebody, Cubans do it. I think Arabs are big on that too.
Yeah.
Arabs and Hispanics are big on when they meet somebody, you kiss them and stuff. You didn't like that? You thought that was weird?
At first, I was
Creeped out?
I was like really antisocial, like did not want to touch anyone.
So it creeped you out when somebody hugged you and kissed you?
A little bit, but then I got used to it.
Right. Okay, so that's one. Anything else? Keep it mild, okay?
That everything has to be Cuban.
That's just being backwards.
Yeah.
And everybody has that problem.
Yeah.
Like, I have African American friends who tell me like their African American parents. There's no fixing that.
Yeah, there's no fixing that.
If your grandparents are old white people from the South,
no, like
there's no fixing that. If you're Cuban and your Cuban parents only eat Cuban food and refuse to eat American potatoes or something, like there's no fixing those old people. Once they're old, they're stubborn, and it goes for everybody. That's like, I think one of the biggest taboos in the United States that I as a Cuban do it is I'll talk about race openly. As a Cuban, I'm not fazed by racism because I don't feel like I'm racist. As an American, Americans have this fear of talking about race. Americans are terrified to talk about race. They're afraid of being labeled racist. They won't even, to the point where Americans won't even talk about race.
The culture,
and I think Americans do need to talk about race because there's so much bottled up and misunderstood. And I think one of the things that contributes to the United States being racist is the notion that if you talk about race, then you get labeled racist.
I got another one.
Yeah.
Where if you go to someone's house, like especially in Cuba, I found it like a little much, where you either have to take a shot of coffee or a shot of
It's much, but it's not. That's hospitality.
It is hospitality, but if you're going to like 10 houses in a day, you're either like
you're gonna be like through the roof.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like a train whistle, you know? Yeah.
It was like a bottle of anxiety and then trying to act normal because I'm with your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't take it, it's disrespectful.
No.
Right. Well, like remember the friends we had from Louisiana, and they would force you to drink sweet tea before you could even do anything with them.
Yeah.
But those were like some real, like, I don't think those people even exist anymore. They're like a dying breed. Those are like the real Louisiana people. Like the old school, give me a hug, my boy type people. You don't just see those every day. They're a dying breed for sure. Like the real Louisiana culture. It sure as crap is gone these days, I'll tell you that. What about Baton Rouge, Louisiana? There's not much of that left. But that's what their culture used to be like.
Yeah.
Anyways, tackling some cultural things that are challenging for some. And it's like, even in Alabama, right? They'll be like, well, you know, I'm not being offensive. I just, you know, if you don't like it. Like, you know, I think I've noticed in Alabama is how insensitive the people there were towards other people. And then they'll say stuff like, well, you know, you're being a crybaby. You know, what's wrong with me calling you this or that? It's not a big deal or whatever. You're insensitive to me. But then I found out when you touch their chords, oh, do they snap. One thing I found about Alabama, when I lived there, is they're very insensitive to other people's cultural and sensibilities. You know, they really struggled to respect other people's sensibilities. And, but I found out, despite the fact people in Alabama being insensitive to other people, find out what their chords are and touch one of their chords, and then they flip out. And they're like, 'cause a lot of times a while back, they were saying stuff like, "Oh, y'all are just being a bunch of crybabies complaining about this and that and that." Touch one of their chords. Talk to them about inbreeding. Talk to them about being backwards, or just make fun of their accent. Oh my gosh, they flip out, because then now they're self-conscious about those traits, and then it bothers them. But when they're being insensitive to other people, it's not a problem. You know. Well, like I said, with me, it's like I have so much history with Bosnians that it's hard for me. Like, if you walk into my business and you're Bosnian, I'm gonna give you a fair shot. You know, but the thing about prejudice is all prejudice is a predisposition against somebody, and that's a tough one. So I don't really have. I love living in Alabama. Like, people, I don't have a problem with these type of people, when clearly they did. So it's not just best to be honest. And in my case, I have some things I got to work on there. But it's not like I'm the one who instigated it. That doesn't excuse it either. I got some stuff I got to work on. We all do. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Nobody's
Continue
perfect.
on I-65 south for 56 miles.
Now, I'm sure this artist, Benny Aguro, I don't think I think if I met him, I would like him as a person. I'm starting to sound like people in Alabama. Let me just shut up right about now.
Continue on I-65 south for 56 miles.
Okay, it's like, yeah, you've said too much. You've proven your point, Jose. It's time for you to shut up. But it's a good conversation to have, because a lot of times in the United States, there's this cultural insensibility where people won't even talk about these topics because they think they're taboo. And it contributes to even more problems, because some things do need to be talked out. You know? It doesn't make you bad because you talk about it. Now, if you're trying to be hurtful, if you're trying to be insensitive, then it's different. I'm not trying to be insensitive. But there are times where you have to adapt your culture, you know. I've had to adapt my culture. I like listening to music loudly. Talk about that. As a Hispanic, I like to play music loudly.
And
It's part of my heritage.
yeah.
No.
If you live in an apartment complex, you can't really do that.
As a Hispanic, I like to play my music loudly. Now, where I live, I would never do that, because I live around people that are civilized and have decided that they want to live in a very nice suburban area. So I'm not going to act a fool where I live. Now, if I'm driving through a parking lot at a grocery store, I'm going to play my music loud. And if I'm in a region of the country where I know people are insensitive to my culture, you can bet I'm going to play my music loud to irritate them, because I know they're insensitive. When I go to Alabama, I'll play music loud just to make sure, just to let them know that, because they're doing it out of a prejudice. So if you're doing it to be prejudiced, I'm not going to be in any way sensitive towards your sentiment. If you're being prejudiced against me, I'm not going to give you an inch of respect if you're doing it out of prejudice. So if you're being prejudiced towards me, like when I go to Alabama, I'll play music loud just to make sure you hear, because I know you're being insensitive to my culture. But where I live is a rich community, not rich, but well-to-do community. Somewhat, it's a desirable place to live. It's not a bad place to live. And where I live, I'm not going to be a fool and do some ethnic crap that's going to make my neighbors get angry at me. So what I do is, I understand that my culture, in my environment, my neighbors are not prejudiced, but I'm not going to purposely instigate that. I'm not going to purposely instigate angry at my neighbors. But if I go to Alabama, or like if I go to some small little country town in Florida, and I know the people there are going to give me hard looks for being who I am, then I'm going to be who I am boldly, just to rub it in your face. At that point, you know, it doesn't matter to me. So it's like, You give respect, you get respect. But if you're not respecting me, you get what you get out of people. So if you're respectful, you'll get respect. If you're not respecting people, it's going to be difficult.